Welcome to BP Children's presentation of Pediatric Bipolar Disorder. Today we'll be discussing the symptoms of bipolar disorder, how they affect the child, and how accommodations can help. We'll also get to hear from a child with bipolar disorder. We hope that at the end of this presentation you'll understand more about bipolar disorder in children and, more importantly, what you can do to help. Bipolar disorder is a treatable illness marked by extreme changes in mood, energy, thoughts, and behavior. These extreme changes coincide with mood cycles. In bipolar disorder, the mood cycles between opposite extremes of depression and mania. In children, these cycles can occur very rapidly. This is a graphic representation of mood cycles. On the high end, you have mania. The middle line represents an even or stable mood. And on the low end, you have depression. These moods can spike up into mania, down into depression, and back up into mania. For some people, they may only experience a couple cycles a year. But in children, this can be a picture of one day.
Bipolar disorder is an illness that is treatable, and it's not contagious. And sometimes you get feelings like you're hyper or energetic, and sometimes you're depressed. Sometimes you feel like you could run the marathon, and sometimes you just want to lay in bed and sleep.
Now let's talk about the onset of bipolar disorder. Medical professionals are now realizing that bipolar disorder can onset at any age. When this illness does onset during childhood, it's frequently referred to as pediatric bipolar disorder, but you may also hear it called juvenile onset bipolar disorder or early onset bipolar disorder. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, there are 3.4 million children and adolescents with depression in the U.S. Up to 1/3 of these may actually be experiencing their first episode of bipolar disorder.
I was 6 when I started having symptoms of bipolar disorder, and I started getting very depressed, and I wanted the neighbor's dog to bite me, and I didn't want to live anymore. So I told my mom how I felt, and she helped me.
Genetics plays an important role in bipolar disorder. Let's explore that further. While genetics isn't the only factor in this illness, bipolar disorder is known to be highly genetic. It's estimated that bipolar disorder occurs in the general population between 1 to 5%. But when a parent has bipolar disorder, their child has a 15 to 30% chance of having the disorder. And when both parents have bipolar disorder, this risk increases up to 75%. We are grateful that researchers continue to investigate multiple genes involving several chromosomes that are linked to the illness. Researchers at the University of California found that one gene mutation was responsible for causing bipolar disorder in as many as 10% of bipolar cases. It is hoped that further research will yield more clues into this illness and provide better treatment options for our children.
My grandma had bipolar disorder, my dad has it, some of my cousins have it, and my sister has bipolar disorder, and now I have it too.
Now that we've discussed some of the basics of bipolar disorder, let's investigate the symptoms that are involved in the cycles of bipolar disorder. First, we'll discuss the symptoms of the manic side. During mania, children have increased energy levels and a decreased need for sleep. Parents like to call this bouncing off the walls or the Energizer Bunny because they just don't stop. They may experience an elated mood where they're very goofy, silly, giddy, laughing very loud or very long. Or they may have an irritable mood where they're grouchy, cranky, and have an extremely low frustration tolerance. They can become very easily distracted, have trouble focusing on any one task, and a lot of trouble concentrating. You might have to tell them 5, 6, 10 times to do the same thing. They may experience grandiose thinking. To an outsider, this can look like very cocky attitude because they really believe that they're better than everyone else at doing something, whether or not there's any actual foundation for that belief. The child may experience racing thoughts, where their brain is going very, very fast and thoughts are coming in at them at all sides, so much so that they can't keep track of what thoughts are coming and going. And this is part of the reason why they become so distracted. During this period, the child may become overly talkative and talk very loudly. They have a lot of ideas going through their head and they want to share it. It's going to bubble forth. Some children may become very agitated or destructive during mania, and it may be just a very small trigger that sets this off. Hypersexuality can also occur during mania, even in very young children. It may involve speaking inappropriately about sexual matters, exposing themselves, dressing in such a way that would bring attention to themselves, and engaging in sexual activity inappropriate for their age and even against their own moral beliefs. Some children also experience hallucinations as part of their mania. These may come in the form of visual hallucinations, auditory, or tactile hallucinations. So they may be seeing, feeling, or hearing things that aren't there. And this can be very scary for a child.
Well, when I'm manic in school, I can't sit straight in my seat, and I get really hyper, and I talk to my friends a lot in class, and my teacher has to remind me to do my work like 3 or 4 times, and I think it's better when I have a smaller class with less things to distract me with.
We've discussed the symptoms of mania, so now let's look at the other end of the cycle, depression. During depression, a child has decreased energy levels and an increased need for sleep. They may cry excessively for little or no reason. They may also experience a lack of motivation, no desire to do anything, no matter what the reward is. In contrast with their mania, when they had thoughts of grandiosity, now they have feelings of worthlessness. They may have a disregard for their own personal safety, not really caring if they get hurt, so they may engage in daredevil acts. During this cycle, they may have a pervasive sadness, or again, like in mania, they can experience an irritable mood. During this period, the child may feel very slowed down or heavy and may need extra time to accomplish tasks. The most serious symptom of depression is thoughts of death or suicide. If a child is having suicidal thoughts, they must get help immediately. This illness can prove fatal and in fact has a higher mortality rate than some childhood cancers because of suicide.
Well, at school, when I'm depressed, I cry sometimes, and it's really hard for me to concentrate in school. And when I do cry, it's embarrassing in front of all the kids. So it's really good when I can get out of the class and when I can stop crying and when I feel better and I can come back in class and I can concentrate on my work.
Now that you know a little bit more about the symptoms of mania and the symptoms of depression, I'd like for you to take a look at the cycle chart again and imagine the child as they go up into those symptoms of mania, and they're racing and they're very energetic and they're talking loud and they have very grandiose thinking, and then see them come back down and plunge into that level of depression where they have a very low energy level, they're crying, they feel awful about themselves to the point where they may even be thinking of death or suicide, and then back up into that mania again. And this can happen just during the course of the day. They can even experience what's called a mixed state, where they're having symptoms of depression and mania at the same time. So it's very difficult, it's very hard for them to even get through the day. Now let's examine how all these symptoms can affect the student in the classroom. How much the student with bipolar disorder is affected in the classroom is going to depend on many factors, including their current treatment and their level of stability. The following list shows ways that they may be affected. The first is lack of concentration and focus. They may have uninhibited actions or difficulty restraining themselves, especially during the manic phase. Unable to be still or wait their turn. The child may be disorganized, having trouble finding the tools they need for the classroom, such as their paper, pencils, books. They may also have trouble breaking down large tasks or assignments into manageable pieces. Performing below their potential. They frequently have difficulty with change in their routine and stress. Loud talking in the class. Emotional outbursts, which could include crying, laughing, or anger. Frequent absentees, tardies, or illness, especially when they're unstable or going through new medication trials. Problems with peers. Cognitive dysfunction and executive functioning deficits have been associated with bipolar disorder even when the child is mood stable or in remission. Different levels of demands and stressors are going to be created in varying environments. Each child is unique and has unique triggers. These varying environments can elicit different responses. For example, some children show more mood symptoms during the school day and few at home. Other children with bipolar disorder show more mood symptoms at home and few during the school day. Still other children show consistent mood fluctuations in both environments. There are some outside factors that can actually trigger more episodes. These factors include increased stress and demands. Growth spurts can change the medication level in a child's body and affect their stability. Seasonal changes can also affect the mood shifts of a child with bipolar disorder. Fall and winter can bring on depression. Spring and summer can activate mania. Major life events can also trigger episodes, even if these events are positive. The child's stability as a whole should be considered and addressed. Triggers in varying environments and outside factors can affect a child's overall ability to function. Besides the symptoms we have already discussed, there are even more challenges for the child with bipolar disorder. Let's learn about these now. Bipolar disorder frequently exists in combination with other conditions, such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorders, learning disabilities, developmental delays, sensory integration issues. Medication trials can also prove to be very challenging. It may take some time before the doctors find the right combination of medications to help the child reach stability. In the meantime, they may experience some unwanted side effects from these medications.
Well, some challenges I have besides bipolar disorder is I learn differently than other kids in school, and so it makes it harder for me to learn in school.
Now that we understand more about bipolar disorder and how it affects the child, let's discuss how the role of treatment can help. Proper treatment cannot be overemphasized. It's very important for the child to be treated by a psychiatrist who understands bipolar disorder in children. Proper treatment gives the child a chance to stabilize and find success in both their school and home life. The child will have the most success with a comprehensive treatment approach that will include a medication combination that helps the child stabilize. Environmental changes will include stress reduction both at home and in the classroom. Receiving support and intervention in the educational setting plays an important role in helping the child stabilize. Approaching treatment from all angles will give the best chance of success. Missing a piece of the treatment puzzle can destabilize the child. With the interventions discussed, many children with bipolar disorder will go from experiencing the mood cycles shown here to a period of stability.
I take medication for my bipolar disorder, and I use strategies to help me with my moods, and I also get help in school.
Now let's discuss some ways that we can help the child with bipolar disorder in the classroom. Accommodations and modifications in the classroom can be very helpful for students with bipolar disorder. Many of these will be centered around stress reduction and flexibility. These two ingredients are key to helping the student be successful. Another key ingredient or factor to success is teamwork between the teachers, parents, school counselor, nurse, and all the other staff working with the student. Accommodations should always be individualized to the student, but here are a few that may help. It's important for the student to have a contact person and a safe place to go when they're feeling emotionally distressed. Ideally, this will be somebody that they get along with and have been able to establish a rapport with, so that if they start crying in the classroom or become angry, they can remove themselves and go see that individual till they calm down and can return to the classroom. Being in a classroom with reduced distractions, noise, and stimuli will help the child to concentrate better and focus on their work. Reducing the child's overall workload with assignments and homework can be an important way to reduce stress. Extended time on assignments or tests may be necessary. It's important to take into consideration the medication side effects that the child may be experiencing and to make adaptations for these. Because it can be very difficult for children with bipolar disorder to shift gears, it's important to give a verbal cue or notice prior to any transitions. Knowing that a child has bipolar disorder only tells you a little bit about them as an individual. It's important to get to know them as a whole and help them maximize their gifts. Children with bipolar disorder frequently have special abilities in other areas. They may have a very high IQ, or be musically inclined, artistic, creative, sensitive, or insightful. Generally, children with bipolar disorder look at their world in a very unique way. People with bipolar disorder have made major contributions to society. History tells us of many outstanding contributions in the following areas. Inventions. Space exploration, including walking on the moon. Athletics. Film industry, including producing and directing. Musical compositions and performances. Drama and stage productions. Journalism, both reporting and writing. Artwork, including major masterpieces. Literature, including famous novels and poems. Getting to know the child as a whole will help you see their potential, understand their needs, and help them reach their dreams. With the appropriate interventions and support, children with bipolar disorder can be successful.
Well, I want to go to vocational school or some sort of college and get a nice job, and I don't think bipolar disorder will stop me because I take good care of myself, and my school and my family support me, and I'll be happy.
We hope that you've enjoyed this presentation by BP Children. More importantly, we hope that the information you gained here today will benefit a child with bipolar disorder. For more information, please visit our website at www.bpchildren.com.